Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the School of Science. My name is Luke and this is the post-match for Brighton versus Everton. Brighton 0, Everton 2. Now, there's not an awful lot to say about this game in all honesty. I mean, I'm going to be singing the praises of Everton just because that game was absolutely phenomenal. Everton really played to their strengths today. They were able to do a lot of dynamic passing, they were able to bring the ball upfield, they were able to pass around, interchange, and communicate with each other to an absolutely perfect degree. Now, looking at that score, you think, okay, Everton did great. How did Brighton do? Brighton, they played well as well. They had an extremely solid defence. Lewis Dunk really did everything he could to keep Calvert-Lewin out the game, and in all honesty, he did a good job of it. He did an actual good job of it. Any lofted balls or any crosses that came in open play, he was taking Calvert-Lewin out the game, or anyone else who was coming in, whether it be Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, Damari Gray, and anyone who was lingering around that box. He took them out the game and he demanded possession when it came to being in the box. So you have to give them props for that. They played well. They held in terms of possession. They were able to try and do what they do best. But Everton were just on a whole different wavelength and a whole different style of play to what Brighton were. We were playing a very basic 4-4-2 style, which in the modern day game, especially at the very top tier of English football, that's normally a death sentence for whoever's playing it, just because it's so easy to play around and counter in this time and age when it comes to football. You've got your very intricate sort of stylings now, so you can have a 3-2... I'm just trying to think of it. 3-2-3-1. Yeah. So you have like a 3-2-3-1 sort of formation now where you can have... I'm not even sure if that's right. Yeah, 3-2-3-1 is correct. So you have your three centre-backs, your wing-backs, your two defensive midfield, three attacking midfield, and then your one striker. You have these sorts of styles. You have all different ones, 4-5-1, 4-3-3. These sorts of styles, you can see a 4-4-2. If that comes up in a lineup, most managers are rubbing their hands because they know how to work around it. But Everton today, they took the 4-4-2 style and they made it their own. The defence played absolutely solidly. When I saw Keane and Holgate as the back two defenders, as central defenders, I was worried just because I saw that and I was thinking, oh crap, we're going to leak here. I saw that and I thought that immediately just because their pass record's been terrible. But in all honesty, the defensive midfielder in the form of Alan and Decore as well, they came back. They defended absolutely phenomenally. Townsend did the same. So they helped the defence be more sturdy. So they did brilliantly on that. They brought themselves forward brilliantly. So they were able to bring balls up that pitch very quickly in the forms of Seamus Coleman, Luca Dean, Abdoulaye Decore and Alan. They all brought it upfield brilliantly. Damari Gray, he was doing great as a winger. He was being able to link up with Luca Dean very well. He was able to bring it inside. The pass in the first half from Alan to Damari Gray was something else. It allowed Damari Gray to actually run at full tilt, get the ball, cut inside and just put it away. It was absolutely brilliantly done. Well executed. Could not fault it in the slightest. That first half we played great in that sense. First few minutes it was a bit to and fro as both teams sort of tried to get a grasp of one another and sort of see how they were playing. So in that situation it was where we were sort of giving up a few easy balls here and there and doing everything like that. But as time progressed, we just got into our game. We become a well-oiled machine. Every single cog was turning in unison perfectly, and we just opened the game up for us to take advantage of. Now, like I said, Brighton's defence was still almost airtight. Any gaps we were able to find, it wasn't going to work two times round. They were able to close up that, and we had to find new angles. So, again, props to Brighton for playing it. But as a whole, Everton played brilliantly. Pickford didn't have much to do, in all fairness. He only had to make, I think, 2 or 3 serious saves. There was one situation where he was able to bring it up. He was able to tip it over the bar, but in all fairness, when we come to the replay, he didn't even have to bring it over to the bar. It was already over. He just covered his bases well. His distribution was good. When it comes to the defence, again, Holgate and Mina for all their flaws, they played absolutely brilliantly today. They covered each other's backs. They did not make any fatal mistakes. They made a couple of mistakes here and there, but they made up for it. They covered for it. Seamus Coleman was unfortunate not to knock one in. He was able to get us a penalty, which was good. But I was worried when I saw that situation, because when he went down, if you watched, he overextended. I think it was his, I'm not sure whether it was left or his right leg, but one of those legs, he overextended when he went down, and he coiled over very quickly in pain. So I was concerned when I saw that, just because I thought that that might have been a ripped muscle or anything, and we would have been without a first team right back. But he played well. He was able to cover his bases. He was able to get up the field. He was able to get back. He played like he was 28 again. He played brilliantly there. Luca Dean, he did well as well. Able to get up the field, able to get back. He was able to cover all areas. He got a few crosses in. It was unfortunate we weren't able to convert any of them, but it's because they were good crosses. His corners, though, I still feel like in that situation where we were putting them in from corners, I think it might have been worthwhile to have done a short corner in a couple of situations rather than lobbing it in. But again, we got the result. That's the only thing that matters on that front. In the midfield, that's where we had our absolutely phenomenal players. Andros Townsend, he played well. He was able to intercept. He was able to bring some passes in. He was able to do some good link-ups. That's always good. Abdoulaye Doucouré, he was unfortunate not to convert one or two. He had a couple of great moments. He was playing the number 10 role to an absolute dime. He was able to distribute passes. He was able to make some runs. So he did really well in that game. Alan was an absolute brick wall when it come between the midfield and the defence. He gave away a few free kicks, which, as a defensive midfielder, that is your purpose. You need to sort of interrupt the flow of the game. You're able to. I'm going to say this one very quickly. His pass through to Demarai Gray was absolutely phenomenal, so I would give absolute props for that. But as a whole, Alan had a solid game. Really respected how he played and really, really admired what he was doing on that pitch. Demarai Gray had an absolutely brilliant game. He was up and down the field. He was absolutely everywhere. Any passes, he was either on the end of them or he was passing them through. He made a few good little runs. He made an absolutely phenomenal goal where it was through. He was able to get onto it. He was able to beat the defender and put it into the back of the net. Their keeper just stood no chance, in all fairness. He absolutely stood no chance. Calvert-Lewin, I'll be honest with you, Calvert-Lewin had a bit of a quiet game this one. Lewis Dunk did an absolutely great job in keeping him out of the game, which was unfortunate because I felt like Calvert-Lewin was... He was able to get himself around. He was trying to get into areas, and he was trying to sort of shake Dunk, but Dunk did everything he could. He played Calvert-Lewin out of the game, and he was unfortunate to have someone like Dunk absolutely marking him throughout that game. So that was a game that Calvert-Lewin, he had a quiet one, and unfortunate. It was unfortunate. Now Richarlison. I'm going to have a drink for this one because this is going to be a long-winded one. Not sponsored, by the way. Richarlison. He played well. He did play well. He had some good runs. He had some good efforts. But the one thing I did not like about Richarlison today was his attitude. His attitude when it comes to the penalty was not appropriate whatsoever. Before the game, a manager will normally say, your penalties, your free kicks, your throw-ins, your corners. That's what he'll normally do. He will dictate who is doing what. For him to go and pick the ball up and say, I'm taking the penalty, is childish. You do not do that. Not at this level. Not at this professional level of football. You do not demand that you take a bloody penalty. You leave that to the dedicated penalty taker, regardless of whether it's Calvert-Lewin, Andre Gomez, or even if it was Jordan Pickford. You do not take the ball and say, I'm taking the penalty, because that just makes you look like an absolute arsehole. Now, I understand he wants to get on the sheet, but he needs to do it in his way. and that is in the way of literally taking bloody kicks. You know, free open play. That's Richarlison's area for where he scores. So for Calvert-Lewin to have that penalty, you don't do that. You mess with people's headspace when you do that. If you're doing that and you're throwing a tantrum when you can't get your own way, that messes with the whole team's headspace, especially Calvert-Lewin's. We were great. It was great to see that he got it in the net, but he messed with his headspace a lot there doing that. And for Calvert-Lewin to have scored, it was great. And that's extra points to him just because that was his headspace was probably all over the show at that point. He was able to focus on the goal, get it in, and we got on with it. But Richarlison, buddy, I'm not a professional footballer. I'm going to say that for a fact. But you don't do that. If this was my situation where there was a penalty, I felt like I could take it, but there's another person who's dedicated to it, I will stand back and let them take it. But I will be aware. I will watch, wait for that ball to be kicked, and I will go full bolt to where that ball's going in order to be the second person onto it if needs be, because that's what you're meant to do. But I'm sorry, that rambles went a little bit too far. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, that's all I've got to say. When it comes to penalties, just let the person who's dedicated to take them, or the person who's been told to take them. You don't try and be the hero, because Kevin Morales will tell you what happens when you try and do that sort of stuff. But yeah, as a whole, it was a really good game. When it comes to the substitutes, that was another one. As we're aware, Calvert-Lewin appears like he has actually picked up a little bit of an injury, so that might rule him out of the international football. He may have to stay here and be treated by Everton's physio team. If so, I'll be honest, I don't see it as a complete and utter loss for the England team, because they've got so many brilliant strikers already. So for Calvert-Lewin, chances are he would have just been on the bench for this one. It would have been Harry Kane or Marcus Rashford on the front of that. So I'd rather see Calvert-Lewin stay at Finch Farm instead of going out with the England squad and get himself ready for the next game, which is, I think it's Burnley at home. So yeah, that's another one. I want to see Calvert-Lewin at Burnley at home, because that's going to be a ticket I'm going to be getting and going to. But in regards to the substitutions, I think it was only Iwobi and Gomez. When they came on, they did a really good job of keeping the flow of the game as it was, and they also added new angles of attack. Iwobi had really good runs up and down that left-hand side of the field. He was getting a few good runs, he was getting cut-ins, and he was distributing some really good passes. It was unfortunate that he wasn't able to add a net one or get an assist for a third, because he played really well for the amount of time he was on the pitch. Gomez was the same. Didn't make too much of an impact, but he helped keep the flow of the game in Everton's favour. He was able to hold up play, he was able to pass around, he was able to do a good job. So as a whole, Everton, I would have given them a solid 9.5 out of 10 for that game. They held well, they got up the field well, they were able to put shots through, they were able to get goals from open play, so I'm not going to complain. But in any case, guys, I'd like to thank you all very much for watching. If you like this video, you know what to do. Hit that like button down below. Also, if you want to suggest anything to the channel, if you want to suggest another way of approaching these sort of post matches, or suggest something that I should do in the interim while we're doing the international stuff, because I've already got stuff lined up, but I'm always open to hearing what you guys have got to say. Also, if you are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button down below. It just shows me that you like what I'm doing, to the extent that you want to be one of the first in line for any time new content comes out. Also, I'd like to say a huge thank you to everyone who is a Patreon right now. At the moment, it is still CT Baz, but still, it means no less that he is one of our only patrons. He is still an absolutely magnificent person on our Patreon, and I thank you very much for being a continued supporter of CT Baz. If you want to be like CT Baz and you want to get yourself on this lovely little box here, please, why not subscribe to the Patreon. It's at the moment we're only at 2 tiers, so we've only got the £1 cup of coffee tier, and we've got the School of Science Superfan tier. Now, the £1 cup of coffee tier is literally something where you just want to donate £1 to me and say, look, I like what you're doing, have a cup of coffee on me. The £3 tier is more of a solid dedication. So pretty much you put the £3 tier out. That means you get access to anything that goes out here. You get all that ad free when they become monetized. You will also get access to any live streams that we do in the future. So I might be able to do live streams when we've grown enough. We'll do them where they're dedicated to the Patreon maybe, or maybe I might start them out on YouTube, but Patreons get priority in the chat. I'm not sure how I'm going to work it just yet, but these are the sorts of things I'll be doing in the future. Plus, if I'm ever doing interviews with anyone in the future, because once we get to the new property, that is something that I am going to introduce. So anyone to do with Everton, anyone around Everton or anything in them regards, I'm going to try and get them in. We're going to try and do interviews with them and try and talk football with them. What will happen is they'll go on the Patreon a whole day before they come out on the YouTube channel. So that's the sort of stuff that I'll be trying to do in the future. But in any case, guys, I'd like to thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.